So in this video, we'll be discussing recent developments in the Supreme Court and what impact they could have on the Second Amendment and on 2A cases going forward. So let's talk about this. But real quick before we jump into this video, if you think it's time for the Supreme Court to once again uphold the right to keep and bear arms, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe. So like I said in the intro, in this video, we're going to be talking about some recent events that have developed in the Supreme Court and how they could impact how the Second Amendment and Second Amendment issues are handled going forward in the Supreme Court. The first development is in regard to some news that has been circulating around since last Friday, that last Friday, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas was actually hospitalized with flu-like symptoms and he has an infection. So he's been hospitalized since Friday. When this news broke, this obviously brought major concern to people like me because Justice Thomas is a very pro-Second Amendment justice. He has been very much in favor of the Second Amendment and has been really responsible for holding the line on constitutional issues, on originalist ideologies, especially since Justice Scalia's death. Of course, if something were to happen to Justice Thomas, not only would this result in us losing someone on the court who we know is very pro-2A, but also it would result in Biden being able to fill a seat on the Supreme Court. That would ultimately shift the court from a 6-3 right-leaning court as it stands right now to a 5-4 court that would ultimately likely be led by Justice Roberts, with him being that kind of swing vote again and being that middle ground individual who really will decide a lot of these cases because he will be the tiebreaker. Now, the Supreme Court did release a letter on Justice Thomas's hospitalization, and it reads as follows. Justice Clarence Thomas was admitted to Sibley Memorial Hospital in Washington, D.C. on Friday evening after experiencing flu-like symptoms. He underwent tests, was diagnosed with an infection, and is being treated with intravenous antibiotics. His symptoms are abating, he is resting comfortably, and he expects to be released from the hospital in a day or two. Justice Thomas will participate in the consideration and discussion of any cases for which he is not present on the basis of the briefs, transcripts, and audio of the oral arguments. So that's one of the first kind of major unsettling things that's going on with the Supreme Court right now is some uncertainty in regards to Justice Thomas. They're saying he's getting better, but he's still in the hospital. So that is something that's definitely concerning that we'll be keeping our eyes on. Now, the other important thing that's going on right now in regards to the Supreme Court is the confirmation hearing for Judge Jackson, essentially to fill Justice Breyer's seat because he will be retiring after this session, so Joe Biden gets to fill that seat. One major thing with Judge Jackson is that we don't have much track record on her opinions on various issues, including the Second Amendment. We know that she clerked for Justice Breyer, and that's kind of her mentor, and of course, that she is being nominated by Joe Biden. However, that only gives us a vague idea of her position since we have no opinions from her directly on this issue and a lot of other issues as well. Now, during her confirmation hearing, she was asked about her position on the Second Amendment. Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa asked her what her personal views on gun rights Judge Jackson replied that essentially she would follow Supreme Court precedent. He asked, "Do you believe the individual right to keep and bear arms is a fundamental right?" And she responded, "Senator, the Supreme Court has established that the individual right to keep and bear arms is a fundamental right." So essentially she answered that that is the Supreme Court precedent, but she didn't actually say that, yes, she believes that it's a fundamental right. It's actually interesting when she was asked similar questions about First Amendment rights where she was much more open of saying, yes, that's a fundamental right, kind of in her own personal views. But when it came to the Second Amendment, she kind of caveated it with, well, that's what the Supreme Court said in their precedent. She provided a similar answer to written responses to Senator Dick Durbin during her confirmation to the D.C. Appeals Court. Here is the question and her response when she was asked in regards to the Second Amendment when she was kind of going up for that first confirmation for the D.C. Appeals Court. He asked, "During your confirmation hearing, you commented on the Supreme Court's jurisprudence regarding the First Amendment. Specifically, you said that the Supreme Court has rightly viewed the First Amendment right to religious liberty as foundational and fundamental. I'd like to ask you about another of the Supreme Court's views on foundational fundamental rights. You said during your hearing that you are bound by Supreme Court's opinions on the Second Amendment, including the District of Columbia v. Heller and McDonald v. Chicago. Do you believe that the Supreme Court rightly viewed Second Amendment rights in those cases?" Now here is her response. "During my confirmation hearing, I expressed the indisputable fact that the First Amendment of the Constitution, which states that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, expressly protects a fundamental and foundational right to religious liberty. I also explained that the Supreme Court is working through the doctrine and that there has been a series of cases in the last few years as the Supreme Court determines what it means to treat religious organizations differently. Similarly, the Second Amendment states a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And in DC v. Heller, the Supreme Court held that this constitutional provision establishes an individual right to keep and bear arms. As a current federal judge, I am bound to follow both Heller and McDonald, as I would be if confirmed to the DC Circuit. I have not expressed any personal views of the scope or contours of the fundamental rights protected by the First and Second Amendments, and it would not be appropriate for me to do so under Canon 3 of the Code of Conduct of Judges, given that the Supreme Court and other courts are actively considering such issues as applied to various government regulations. So essentially, her response to these Second Amendment questions has been that it's improper for her to comment on her own personal views, but that she will follow Supreme Court precedent. To some, that might sound okay, but she's really saying she will follow what the Supreme Court has established. However, this is something that we have heard other justices say during their confirmation hearings, but then essentially go back on it once they are actually Supreme Court justices. Justice Sotomayor made similar comments during her confirmation hearing before ultimately ruling against the Second Amendment and ruling against Second Amendment precedent when she was actually on the court. In the 2010 McDonald v. Chicago opinion, she joined dissenting justices and she issued an opinion that concluded, in sum, the framers did not write the Second Amendment in order to protect a private right of armed self-defense. So there she's saying that the right to keep and bear arms is not a private individual right. So if she's put on the Supreme Court, will Judge Jackson be pro-Second Amendment? The likelihood is no. With cases like New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin and that decision coming soon, the recent news that Thomas has been hospitalized is really not great news. Also, the uncertainty of new justices joining the court could lead to even greater instability in future Second Amendment cases. Hopefully, Justice Thomas remains healthy and the court can stay at that 6-3 makeup as it is right now, because that bodes the best for all of us to get pro-2A rulings. Also, many of us are hoping that Justice Thomas would write the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin opinion, and depending on his health, that could actually be at risk and maybe another justice would have to write that opinion. Again, a lot of instability on the Supreme Court right now with this news of Justice Thomas and then also with this new nomination. When it comes to the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin decision, that decision will come as late as kind of June. But many of us are looking beyond that opinion, because if it is favorable, the hope would be that many more cases involving the Second Amendment will be taken up by the Supreme Court. But without Thomas and maybe with a new justice, that could be really a pipe dream. Heaven forbid that something happens to Justice Thomas where he has to be replaced. But again, that could really drastically shift the makeup of the court. So there's a lot of unknowns right now, but hopefully Justice Thomas is okay. He gets to continue to participate on the Supreme Court because we really need him right now. And hopefully he gets the opportunity to write that New York State Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin opinion. So as we get more information, I will definitely let you guys know. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment down below and I'll try to answer the best of my ability. Also, if you like this video and like support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, and subscribe. All those things help to fuel the algorithm or fuel Algorithm rhythm. It adds fuel to his jet and it signals to YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and in this type of 2A news. Again, I want to thank everybody who likes, comments, subscribes, who hits the notification bell, who shares these videos. You guys are directly impacting these videos, impacting this channel, and helping me to reach and educate more people than I could have ever thought. So thank you so much for all of your support. So as always, thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars. This nation will be maintained by armed scholars.